So after 4 games, Ja Morant's averaging like 17 and 5. He's had one great game so far with the 30.9 assist game against the Nets. And I guess you could say his worst game was the 10-point affair versus the Bulls where Kobe White outplayed him. And then the other two have been pretty solid so far. So the thing that I noticed first about Ja is he's kind of relentless going to the basket. I mean, if you look at his shot chart, it is overwhelmingly shots at the rim. He's attempted 24 shots there, and I think he's shot like 19 from everywhere else. On top of that, he is attempting about 4 free throws a game so far. So that to me is the coolest part, is that this dude is going to go at the rim a lot. I mean, if you look at the highlights of that Nets game, it was just him coming down, screen up top, and then he just figures it out at the basket. And for a dude who we don't really know how great he's going to be from 3, I mean, I think if he's open, he can make threes, but his form, it is a little lower than you would like, and we don't know. I mean, we don't know if he's ever going to get to shooting 5, 6 threes a game and all that stuff, you know? But if he's going to be this good going to the rim, and then he can just use an array of floaters and scoop shots and whatever else to just kind of snake through defenders, then that could be his way to being a special offensive player. And that was something that I was a little concerned with him going into this. Is he going to be one of those dudes who's like pass first and is kind of scared to shoot sometimes, like the Rondo or the Lonzo thing? Although I think Lonzo has done okay of moving away from that. Doesn't seem like it with Ja. It seems like he will go into score first mode when he needs to, which is what you want. I mean, because if the defense knows that this guy doesn't really want to shoot, it's going to make it so much easier to defend him and the Grizzlies and, you know, close games and that kind of thing. Other things to like about Ja is the dude just really cares, which I know that sounds basic as hell, but sometimes you get top picks who don't really care, you know? And after a couple seasons, you're looking at their career like, well, where is this really going? Whereas with Ja, I don't really get that vibe, you know? And whether that translates into him getting some big offensive rebound or diving on the floor or whatever it may be, you know, it just seems like one of those dudes where you're really going to want him on your team in that tough playoff series, and you're going to hate to play against him. Now, is that going to develop itself into like some Chris Paul annoyance? I don't know. I mean, CP3 was like kind of jacked for like a 6'1" dude, which allowed him to be a lockdown defender for a long time, whereas Ja, you know, if we're going to talk about him in that capacity, he's probably got some pounds to put on, but even so, I think he's just going to have something about him that's really annoying to play against, and hey, you love that if it's on your team. I guess we should get to the playmaking now. So, his passing has not shot like through the roof in terms of the actual assist numbers. I don't really care. I mean, the vision is there for him, no doubt. He's had a bunch of passes that haven't resulted in assists. And, I mean, we know how good of a playmaker he is. I mean, I'm not really concerned with the actual number right now. I think in a few years, not even a few years, by the end of this season and then definitely next year and beyond, Ja is going to be among the best assist dudes in the league. Now, I think the interesting thing with him is, like, if he would have came up 15 years ago, he probably would average like 14 and 11. Whereas now you want him to be closer to like 20 points and 7 assists a game, right? Because that's where we are with point guards nowadays. And I do think in Ja's heart of hearts, he was born to be the like 11 assist guy. So it will be interesting to see just how he goes from that to being the 20 plus point scorer that is really what we want out of point guards in today's NBA, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was always meant to be the 20 point scoring 7 assists a game dude, but I don't know. That'll be all interesting stuff. Now, I think one cool thing about Ja's development, and we can include Jaren in this as well, is they cater to each other pretty well. I mean, Jaren is Ja's pick and roll / pick and pop big man, and Ja can lob it up to him and all that stuff, right? Jaren has attempted 4 threes a game so far. He's made 1/4 of them. I'm not really concerned. I think he should keep shooting them. I think he projects to being a good shooter, and then defensively, we all know his potential there. I mean, there is a world in which Jaren Jackson is quietly, like, actually the best prospect in the league, outside of, like, Luka and a couple other dudes on that level. And the reason I mention that is because it's going to be really easy to build around those two, you know? Just get shooting around those guys and you pretty much got it, you know? And I don't think there's ever going to be a question of, like, can these two really play together? I think it's pretty much going to be fine, so that will help both of them, of course. And when you look at this, you know, the rest of the Grizzlies' young team, there are guys to be intrigued by, between Brandon Clark, who gives off, like, Paul Millsap vibes, and Dylan Brooks, who can make shots. Part of me thinks he needs to lose a couple pounds, but he can shoot, and we hope that he can do more than score about 10 a game, because that's what he's basically done up to this point. And, you know, that's cool, but can you get closer to, like, 15 on good efficiency and all that, you know? But, you know, he's someone to care about, and I still really like Valanciunas for this team. Now, you could argue that there will come a point where Jaren really needs to play center and Valanciunas is still here, but for the rebounding, the scoring inside, the screen setting, and the improvements on defense that Valanciunas has made, I think he's a good piece for the team. So that is all cool. Yeah, Ja Morant's been good. I don't think he's, like, set the world on fire. He's not been as good as RJ or Kendrick, and maybe it's arguable with, like, Rui and Kobe, but I think that's totally fine. I mean, not every rookie is going to score 25 a game out of the jump, but the things Ja has done have been good, and everything he was supposed to be, I think, has shown itself so far, even if he's only averaging 5 assists a game. So, yeah, I like him. Now, is the shooting still a little bit of a fear? I wouldn't say fear, but it's more like maybe he's not going to ever be one of the best scorers in the league. But that's okay. You can still be a very, very positive player and potentially still one of the best in the league. I mean, I mentioned Chris Paul for him earlier. CP3 was a top 10 player averaging 17 points a game for a long time. So it's definitely possible to get to that point. So maybe that's Ja's future. Realistically, he probably does not become one of the 10 best players in the league. But there's an avenue for him to be a very, very impactful player and leading the Grizzlies to a whole lot of wins and playoff runs and that sort of thing. So he's good.